have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Earth vs. Soup, episode 79. I'm Aaron Pollyea.
And I'm Darlene.
And we're talking about The Man from Planet X from 1951 today. And it's a movie that we found on Tubi for free. And it is black and white, from about 70 minutes long.
70 minutes long. It uses Joan of Arc 1948 set and a lot of fog machine.
A lot of fog machines, that's true. This is a movie that has connections to other movies that we've watched in the past. The director is Edgar Ulmer, and Edgar Ulmer has directed movies such as The Amazing Transparent Man and Beyond the Time Barrier. So those are two movies that we have actually done for this show.
We didn't like The Invisible.
The Amazing Transparent Man. Nah, not really. The writer was Aubrey Weisberg, who actually ended up writing, would later on write Hercules in New York, which was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's first films. So I know that you've seen actually something that this guy's written besides him. There's a lot of talent in front of and behind the camera in this movie. Most of the actors and actresses have long film careers, mostly on TV, but that's pretty much the case with most of the movies that we end up watching. Lots and lots and lots of TV credits.
Margaret Fields, which is the lead female,
who played Enid Elliott,
is Sally Fields' mother.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we had both never seen this movie before.
Nope, I haven't.
And there are things in it that I think worked really well, and there's things that did not work very well.
I'm good at the ones that don't work well.
Well, I know, but you were being pessimistic in this movie, and where I was thinking it was actually charming and quaint.
Well, I was also looking about this. They kept on saying this thing, Brock. And I'm like, there is nothing that makes
Bury.
Okay, Bury is the town, but the castle-like tower, they kept on calling the Brock or the Rock.
Okay.
And I kept on trying to figure out what they were saying. And
okay,
she said something about up here they call these things the Brock.
So looking at the plot, and we've been talking about the plot since we watched the movie before we started recording, I can kind of sum up this movie
very quick
in a fairly, and we'll come back and touch on some scenes, but basically a planet is discovered approaching the Earth, a la When Worlds Collide, and they call it Planet X. A journalist goes to Scotland to find the man who discovered it because there's been all of these strange phenomena happening around the Earth since it was discovered. And they don't really go into detail about what that was, but it seems to now be, instead of randomly happening all over the planet, it seems to be happening at this place called Bury in Scotland, where this professor is. He goes to this remote Scottish village, finds this professor, and they discover a rocket out on the moors.
And he had to take a
boat out there.
A boat to it.
Yeah. So once they're out there, they discover this rocket and the alien on board. There's some communication attempts that are made, and we should go into that in a little bit. There's a struggle. The alien is killed, and Planet X makes its close pass to the Earth and then goes out into space. That is basically the plot. It's sort of like if When Worlds Collide had aliens and then no climax, and then kind of peters out. So there are problems in this movie. There are problems, but let's go into a little more detail about some of these scenes. Okay, so
In the girl,
Enid,
picks up the reporter
yes,
at the docks or something.
yes,
And on there's you called it an uncomfortable
conversation.
I would say it was uncomfortable. Should have been uncomfortable for John that Enid
Enid,
actually put up that she had a crush on him 6 years ago.
when she was like a young lady, let's put it. It's implied
Probably
that she was a gawky preteen. So
But-
she's I guess supposed to be 18 years old at this point or something like that. She is very young in this movie. I did not look and see how old the actress really was, but it's implied that she was prepubescent when she had this crush
Yes.
on him.
Teeth that were buck.
She was gawky,
Her legs were long and
gawky. Anyway, let's see here. They do have a car that breaks down often, even though it's a beautiful car, and it comes into play later on, right? They have these scenes where they're walking around on the moors.
And the first one is the one that you find a rocket-like probe.
Yeah, it's a rocket probe. Now, we learn later on that this is like they call it a magnetic rangefinder that the aliens from Planet X sent to Earth in order to measure the Earth's atmosphere and to guide in their rockets. Now, it doesn't make sense for a few different reasons. Like, we learn later on that the aliens moved their planet so it would intercept Earth. So they already knew the trajectory that they would have to take to get to Earth. They already know that Earth has an atmosphere that they can't breathe because they have to wear spacesuits and all that on the surface. They're invading a planet that they cannot breathe on because their planet's getting cold. It's another one of these alien invasion scenarios where it would be better to actually not invade the planet that you're trying to invade because you
just put up some solar shields.
Well, it's if you have the technology to move your entire planet by changing the gravitational constant of the universe around it.
Because that's really what they were saying.
You also have the ability to move your planet into a warmer orbit. Because they were moving their planet because it was going into this cold snap. So if you can move your orbit to intercept Earth, why not just move it into a warmer orbit?
Or put
build solar mirrors.
Yes.
Something. It's just another one of these dumb alien invasion movies. There's very few alien invasion plot lines that actually would ever work in general, and it's the alien invasion because they want to kill all life,
religious
zealots to convert you to their religion. But they're not going to want to invade to have living space. They're not going to want to invade to have resources. They don't need to invade to do any of the normal stuff you see in blockbuster movies, because if you have the technology to move between planets and star systems at the speeds that these sci-fi aliens do, you have the technology to build habitats, move planets, build Dyson spheres, etc., and you don't have to worry about that stuff. Okay. But it's the 1950s and they just feel, hey, Earth is pretty cool, so we want to have everybody invade it. So they find this magnetic rangefinder. They end up Enid ends up finding the rocket with the alien in it. Now,
she dropped off the reporter in town because he didn't want to stay in with Dr.
Mears, who's a creep.
Who's really a bad scientist.
A very poor scientist, Dr. Venkman. Yeah. Keep going.
So she is coming back and her tire gets flat. So she starts to walk back and sees
this rocket off in
rocket
the
off in the
distance.
distance and goes to look at it and then panics because she actually sees the
alien looking out.
alien looking out
Yeah.
of his porthole.
And she runs all the way back to this like castle tower.
Yeah.
And there are like 2 or 3 different scenes where they go out to investigate this rocket. Now the rocket prop is pretty cool, I think.
And they keep climbing on this styrofoam rock that really like bothers me.
Okay.
And walks in front of this dead tree that they always stop where they're talking and they're filming right there.
So we see a couple cool things with this alien, and I'm going to try to combine like 4 scenes where they go out to this rocket into one. They encounter the alien is suffocating because it like knocked this valve on its suit when it was getting out of the rocket. And John Lawrence, the journalist from America, and the Professor
Yes.
Elliot, saved this alien's life by like helping him turn this valve back on so he's not suffocating, because they cannot breathe the air of Earth. That's why they're invading.
Yeah.
They like suffocating.
And they
put
up their hands like they're, because he's got a gun.
Yes, he does have
a
a
gun. The alien
gun.
has a gun. So they put up their hands, undo his, change his thing, and then walk back slowly. And then once they get far enough, they start running.
Well,
but the alien follows them.
The alien follows them, but it's also pretty clear that the alien suddenly isn't hostile. Like, hey, you saved my life. I'm not going to kill you. Now, he follows them back, but he doesn't chase them back. He follows them back because he wants to communicate. And they've been trying to communicate, and the alien does not use words. It doesn't really understand, like, motioning with its hands.
Isn't this where you said some movie used the same concept?
This is a concept that would be later used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This kind of idea of math as a language and using tones, because the alien uses tones to kind of like speak, or I don't know if I would say speak. Let's say the alien uses tones to imply emotion or imply intent. Does that make sense?
Well, it could be language too.
It could be a type of language, but it's more like I'm happy or I'm peaceful.
But this is where Dr. Meir comes in with his unscrupulous science. They figure out to use geometry.
He does. Dr. Mears.
And he gets off screen, he gets and learns to speak whatever to the alien and gets, I guess, information from him.
Yeah, information on technology from the alien.
And then proceeds to kill the alien.
Yeah, because he's like, damn, I can rule the world. Ha ha ha. Now, he doesn't really do it because the alien, I guess, likes being choked. Because how many times does the alien like lose consciousness from
the
not
first
having air?
scene?
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 times.
First scene you see,
and they're invading a planet that they can't breathe on. So, alien gets back.
Maybe he had that schooling on his planet to deal with suffocation.
Yeah, no, I think the alien actually just likes autoerotic asphyxiation, is what it is.
Maybe he's trained to deal with it.
Him and John Carradine.
Whatever.
All right. Anyway, I'm sure people just that have been listening to this now are just like, whoa, whoa, where is this going?
Anyway, next
Kung Fu: The Legend continues.
Is that the Dr. Elliot gets sick, and
I don't know, that's kind of pointless, but yeah,
that was sick. Kind of pointless.
But the alien goes back to the rocket and starts. He takes Enid with him, and I should say the alien takes Enid along with, because we don't know the alien's gender. And the alien starts kidnapping villagers to do work, and the alien's like, okay, this guy just tried to kill me. I came my original intent was not coming in peace. I came to invade this planet, but then I was peaceful, and then these bitches purposely tried to strangle me out like twice now. Screw them, I'm going to invade. So he controls the villagers to start digging entrenchments around his rocket after
Yes, with a
moving it.
mind control little thing that makes people acceptable to your commands.
Yeah, anyway, yeah.
Because he used it before, too.
Yeah, he did. It's an interesting mind control ray because it's not like the people are really like completely zombies. They are just very susceptible to suggestion. So
And Lawrence actually uses that word.
yeah,
Zombie.
zombies. And but see, here's the thing. He goes out. The journalist finds out where all these people are being held at this rocket, and he goes out and basically goes up to the professor and goes, "Hey, professor, listen to me. I want you to walk in that direction as quickly as you can, okay?" And the professor goes, "All right," and gets up and walks away
over the berm and goes that direction.
And he goes, "Hey, villagers, look at me. See where I'm pointing?
Go that way.
Run that way." And then, okay, and they run, and it seems really dumb, but it's completely logical inside the context of the movie. Like, anyway, since this planet X is going to make this close pass at midnight that night.
You forgot about the helicord.
What?
The heli communication. What is that called?
They call in. It's a heliograph. They call in Scotland Yard through a heliograph on a passing ship because the alien was able to take out the phones and the radio. The ship is able to use their radio to contact Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard comes out with like a detachment from the British Army
and flies in.
They fly in like on a plane, and the Scotland Yard's like, "Yep, that's an alien rocket. We're gonna have to kill it because they're gonna invade." And awesome, great, Scotland Yard doing their job. Let's get the British Army out there with their bazookas. And they say, "Hey, if you're going to try to go rescue people that are out at this rocket, Mr. Journalist, U.S. American guy, you got to do it before 11 o'clock."
They didn't do the 5-road rapid.
They didn't do a unit. Yeah, they should have had unit out there, but
unit didn't exist yet.
Well, technically there was a unit in the Doctor Who universe in the 1950s. It just wasn't called unit. It was a different. Anyway. The journalist goes out there, like I said, saves everybody, and then Mir goes out there to start getting more information from the alien, I guess, because I guess he thinks the alien's stupid and doesn't remember him strangling the alien out. And the British Army fires bazookas at the rocket until it explodes.
I don't know whether he got shot from the alien or from...
It was shrapnel from one of the...
It was shrapnel
from one of the bazooka explosions. They destroy the rocket. The planet makes this close past Earth, where it's clearly moving at a significant portion of the speed of light, like 1% of the speed of light, because it's a full-size planet that rips in and rips out as quickly as
And let's say our planet would be splitting itself.
Well, I don't know if it got close enough for the Roche limit, but it definitely came closer than the moon's orbit. That's for sure. And it's a full-size planet. It's bad news, folks, because it's bad news for the Earth regardless. It's bad news.
They wouldn't be sitting on that shore watching the waves come in.
Yeah, it'd be tidal waves and earthquakes, and they even talk about that at the beginning of the film. We're predicting at best there being tidal waves and earthquakes and all that. And that's completely ignored later on in the movie. So that we kind of detailed these scenes. There's lots of dialogue, but the dialogue typically doesn't really matter for this movie. I don't think.
And there isn't really any characters.
Yeah, there isn't. But with all that being said, we should talk about what works in this movie, because the movie does have problems, but we should always try to celebrate what works first. And I'll say the first thing that works in this movie is that the model work and the matte paintings are really, really good.
They're just overdone.
You just think they're used too much because you like turning something that works into something that isn't. Admit that the miniature work and the matte paintings are really well done. I don't care if there are
they're
too many of them.
pretty. They're pretty, but they're in your face too much.
Yeah. If it works, do it.
But you don't do something always in moderation.
I agree, but I'm saying in general, they were really well done. Maybe they were used too much, sure, but they were really well done. They were well handcrafted. I thought the rocket looked pretty cool. It wasn't a standard like Flash Gordon rocket. It had like weird portholes and kind of a strange.
It was what was kind of between a pointed rocket and a round rocket.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was weird looking, and I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that the alien being unable to verbally communicate was cool. Remember the last time we watched one of these movies? You know, we had a character. Not the last time, because the last time was Wasp Woman. But I'm thinking it was episode 77. I'm having to go back from my notes.
Which was the guy that had to get to somebody that had know all the languages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remembered.
But anyway, yeah, it's the guy that was invisible. The Invisible Invaders is probably what it was. He was the invisible guy in the spacesuit. He couldn't. His voice was like ultrasonic or something like that. That's why the dog could hear him speaking.
Oh, that one. I
think it's Invisible Invaders. She's looking through her notes. That's why you hear paper rustling. Anyway, I liked that the alien could not verbally communicate, and it didn't understand hand gestures or anything like that. It's just that it kind of it hummed these different tones.
The only hand systems they used was the hands up to say I'm sorry.
He's like, I will speak in sign language. Yeah,
trying to show him that eating, but maybe the guy doesn't eat that way.
Maybe not. Is there anything else that you feel works in this movie? Obviously, the sets that were reused from like Joan of Arc were cool sets. Like it's like a village set that they had, some walls,
and probably all those matte paintings.
I doubt it, because the matte paintings were of like a modern-ish village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not cobblestones was one of them.
I don't know. It felt like.
Anyway.
Is there anything else that you feel worked in this movie above and beyond that?
Not really.
Okay, so let's talk about what didn't work. Because I don't really have anything else that I felt worked.
I didn't think the paper mache face of the monster.
No, it did not look good, but overall I would say that the alien is average, and the reason I would say that is that it's not a human, not a regular person in a bubble helmet. It's not a guy in a gorilla suit in a bubble helmet, right?
Okay.
But it was a pretty poor looking paper mache head.
In a bubble.
In a bubble helmet. But I think that I'm not going to say it didn't work, but I would say that, you know what? It could have been better, but at least they tried something weird. I'll give them credit for trying, right?
Okay.
Yeah, fair. I mean that's fair. What else do you think didn't work?
Like I said, I think they used the matte paintings because they put up that picture of the tower in the distance.
Yeah.
And they did that 2 or 3 times.
That was modeled. That was a model though. The distance, the tower off in the distance, yeah.
And I'm just like, no.
Okay. It just didn't look good to you?
No.
I thought it was fine.
I really didn't like the fact that you start the movie and he's in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, he's like writing down his memoirs of meeting this man from Planet X.
At the place, and then all of a sudden you're back in New York or somewhere, or in London, talking to a professor that we don't even know who he is.
Yeah. That
has pictures of the Planet X and tells him where Professor Elliot is.
So I will say that the alien invasion plot just doesn't work because it's an alien invasion plot. No, I have to judge it in the 1950s or 60s framework. I guess the alien invasion plot is fine for the 1950s or 60s. I rarely ever see any alien invasion
But
plots
they
that
should
work.
know that a planet coming close to a planet is going to have.
Big problems. But that's the thing. Like we said, they did even mention that right at the beginning of the film.
But then they drop the ball.
Then they drop the ball later on and don't even really bother with it. At the very least, when worlds collide,
Chekhov's gun, you know.
Now, this should be a preview of what we do for our 80th episode. We should watch When Worlds Collide because this movie has a lot of the elements that are in Worlds Collide, but they drop the ball in this movie, whereas Worlds Collide deals with it.
No, so we have an apocalypse.
Well, When Worlds Collide, spoilers, yeah.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the point, that they know there's no way in hell Earth will survive this, so they start making rocket arcs to take mankind to the planet that's trailing behind the planet that's going to be. There's like two planets that are coming towards the Earth in When Worlds Collide, and the second planet that after the Earth and this big planet basically.
He's watched this.
Oh yeah. I loved When Worlds Collide.
I haven't.
Darlene, who did it? George Pal. You know it's going to be good.
Okay.
All right. So, regardless, let's go back to this movie.
What can somebody learn about this?
Is there anything else that didn't work? The characters. There are no characters. The car was beautiful. I don't even know what kind of car it was, though.
I don't, but the fact that she comes in and she says, "It broke down on me. I'm sorry I'm late."
Yeah.
And then it breaks down on her again. And then she has to tell Jack, or whatever his name is, that the tire needs to be reinflated.
They cared about the car and the plot. Like the car
actually, had
the car drives the plot forward in this. Oh my God, it's a pun. It drives it forward. No, but it is true, actually. When you think about it, the car actually is Chekhov's car in this.
It goes through, and it has
it breaks down, and that's the reason she finds the rocket in the first place. He goes out to fill the tire and encounters the constable and gets the constable involved, and then the constable contacts Scotland Yard, and Scotland Yard gets a hold of the British Army. Yeah, I guess the car actually makes a difference in this movie.
Well, we have a character.
The car is a character. No, really, there aren't any characters in this. No, there isn't. Which is
But he did have the constable, when he was talking to him while the guy was inflating the tire.
I couldn't understand a word.
We could.
And here's the thing: that guy is not a Scottish actor. He's from St. Louis. We had to look it up. I'm like, wait a second, what the hell did he just say?
I don't know.
And it came across as, to me and my American ear, it did sound like a really deep Scottish burp, but
it could have been.
He was making it up.
It could have been very much what he might have heard from Kentucky or
something like that. I don't know. It wasn't a real Scottish burp, but the point is that it felt like it was affected and emphasized to the point where I didn't understand him for a scene. I was like, what the hell did he just say about that car? I know he was talking about the car. The car is important. The car is the plot. The car is the character. What can people learn? What can modern directors and filmmakers learn from this movie?
I already asked you that.
What? Oh, so I have to answer it.
You have to answer that one.
Have characters.
We go through that a lot.
No. Here's the thing. Even some of these really bad movies that we've watched, there's usually one or two actual barely characters in the film, right? And this, you could maybe make the argument, yes, there's barely characters in this with the journalist and then Enid. Enid's the only character that I actually remember the name of. Isn't it Enid Elliot?
Elliot, yes.
Okay.
Dr. Elliot is her
Enid, and then I guess John Lawrence is the journalist. But Enid's the only person that I actually can remember without having to look at my computer screen here. And there's this, even though they don't really have chemistry, there is a history between the characters, and there's this kind of joking between them that makes them feel like they might be real people, but it's so thin that most of these other movies that we've watched are far better than that. So I would say this is actually pretty low on our list of movies with characterization. Does that make sense? Like, can you give me the motivation for Dr. Mears being a dick?
No. I already asked you that.
No, I don't know. I don't know why this guy's a dick.
I was like, why is he the way he is? Something about power. And you said he wanted power. I even got that one.
I did. I understood that he wants power, but what's his motivation for that?
I mean, like, I don't know.
Who knows?
Money,
maybe. I don't know. Why are the detectives from Scotland Yard so gung ho about having the British military come in and blow the shit out of this rocket?
That I have no idea.
Like, they just come in, yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get the British Army here, no problem.
They hardly even seen the rocket ship.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, he's clearly going to invade the Earth. We need to blow it up. Like, okay, good job there, Sherlock. Like, yeah, I guess you could have come to that conclusion. Anyone could have come to that conclusion because it's the 1950s and it's a Rocket Man.
I don't know.
Everybody invades. Anyway, what can modern filmmakers learn from this movie? I would say at least one thing is have characterization. Make your characters memorable in one way or another.
If you're going to put something in the movie in the front part, have it in the back too.
Yes.
Which is you were saying that they were talking about the earthquakes and that, and then they're standing at
and watching the planet go by, and there's just
they're at the ocean, and the waves are just taking just like it's normal.
Yeah, and when they actually, when it comes, the planet makes its close pass, there's like this howling wind and everything like that.
What the crap is that?
Well, it's supposed to be like the Earth's atmosphere is being moved around, but it's really just it's too little too late with it. Whereas, like when Worlds Collide, there's a buildup of these disasters where it's not happening right when the planet's making its closest point to the Earth. It's as it's getting closer, there's worse and worse crap happening. Yeah, you need to actually like build the tension in the movie, and this has no tension building really at all until that last scene, and then it's all fixed right away.
It's all caused by the Scotland Yard saying 11 p.m.
Yeah, suddenly there's this time limit on things, but it's a time limit that's imposed only right at the end of the movie.
Like it was written in afterwards.
Yes. So anyway, I think we're going to watch When Worlds Collide next, because I think that this movie did a lot of the things that When Worlds Collide will do.
Okay, but what about The Thing?
We're still looking at The Thing. The Thing is going to be at some point. I like saving classics for the multiples of 5, like 80, 85, 90, 95, 100.
Hey, we're on what?
We're on, well, this was 79. Next time is going to be a classic, When Worlds Collide, by George Pal. A George Pal production. So everyone can now remember to watch ahead, and you can join us in our talk if you want. It is a classic. It is a classic. But do we recommend what?
You couldn't
even the man from Planet. See, yeah, this is the thing. The Man from Planet X. Are we going to recommend it? No. I will say there's a couple redeeming things in it. Absolutely, and I could always find redeeming things in these movies.
It would be an interesting movie to have running when you're talking about something else. Like if you were having a party and you didn't want the TV to be a distraction.
I don't know. I can see it being a distraction when the alien's on the screen or the rocket's there. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, we don't recommend it, even though there are redeeming things in this movie, right?
Yes.
All right. So we'll talk to you guys later, and remember, when worlds collide.
Good night.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.